Namami buddham gunasagarantang santa sada hontu sukhi avera kayo jinguncho sakalo dugandho gachanti sabbe maranang ahanca namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa acchenti kala tharayanti rantiyo vayo guna anupumbang jahanti etang bayang marane pekkhamano punyani khairata sukhavahani acchenti kala sarayanti rantiyo vayo guna anupumbang jahanti etang bayang marane pekkhamano lokamisang pajahe santi pekho. Homage to the exalted one, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, all of you are warmly welcome. Here we usually discuss Buddhist teachings. First of all, we practice meditation. After that, we do a discussion, what Buddha explained. And here, especially, we discuss main Buddhist doctrines, which are very useful to purify our mind. When we discuss Buddha's message, all Buddhist doctrines focus on happiness. Here, it is very important to understand how we develop our happiness. Happiness is the purpose of everyone in the world, not only among human beings, but in animal realms. They are also expecting happiness. That is why people always wish to become happiness. However, even though they hope to become happiness, unfortunately, end of their life, they reach their destination without happiness. In this situation, it is very important to understand what Buddhism says that about happiness. According to Buddhism, happiness depends on how far we have cleansed our mind, how far we have purified our mind. Whenever our mind is polluted with negative thoughts, actually we have no real happiness. Our happiness depends on how far we have purified our mind. When we are going to purify our mind, we should understand what are the negative thoughts, emotions that disturb our peace of mind. According to Buddhism, there are 3 unwholesome thoughts, evil thoughts, negative thoughts that disturb our peace of mind. What they are? Yes. 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 All negative thoughts can be included into 3. They are greed, anger, and delusion, or attachment, hatred, or ignorance. These are the main unwholesome roots that disturb our peace of mind. When we are going to overcome these negative thoughts, we should understand what are the techniques to purify our mind. Buddha says, I proclaim only one thing to purify your mind. I proclaim only thing to overcome suffering. What is that? That is mindfulness. First, we should recognize negative thoughts that disturb our peace of mind, and we should understand the path that leads to get rid of suffering, anger and delusion. What are the techniques that we can use to overcome these negative thoughts? If we want to overcome greed, attachment or desire, there are several techniques that Buddha has explained. The primary technique is that practicing generosity or charity, offering something to others with pure mind. That is the first step of the spiritual path. If we can't be generous, actually our other qualities don't happen. The first step is that our mind should be generous. We should be generous. We should be ready to offer something to others, at least a water bottle. That is the first step. And little by little we go forward. We can practice other things. And also there is another meditation technique that Buddha has explained to overcome attachment or desire or lust, contemplating on impurity of our body parts. It says in Buddhism, Asubha Bhavana. Contemplating on impurity of our body parts, such as hair and teeth and our skin. These are the things we contemplate on. We contemplate on impurity of our body parts. It is one of the techniques that we can use to overcome lust or lustful desire. These are the techniques. The other one is, one of the main emotions or thoughts that disturb our peace of mind is anger or hatred. A lot of people in the world, they are stressed because of anger or hatred. If we are able to overcome anger, actually we can overcome more than 50% stress in our mind. That is why Buddhism says, on the path of liberation, at the beginning, we should practice loving kindness. We contemplate on, may all beings be well, happy and peaceful. Again and again we think it. Not only we think it, but when we speak something, we speak with loving kindness. When we behave with compassion and loving kindness. Loving kindness can be practiced into 3 ways. Mentally, verbally and physically. Those 3 things are very important. Some people, sometimes they meditate, may all beings be well and happy, but when they talk, they have no compassion, loving kindness. Their compassion only, they are closing their eyes. In the real world, they are angry. But the very important thing is we have to practice loving kindness in these 3 ways. Verbally, mentally and physically. These 3 things are very important. Again and again we practice, may all beings be well, happy and peaceful. Again and again we think. As the result of practicing loving kindness, Buddha says, when we meet a person, we think that person is like our only son or daughter. That is the highest attitude that we can develop by practicing loving kindness. And also the other one is delusion. These are the three unwholesome roots. Among them, Buddha says, the worst defilement is delusion. All other negative thoughts or defilements depend on delusion. This is like main switch. If you can put off this switch, all other negative thoughts automatically they put off. But directly we are unable to do it. That is why Buddhism says primary techniques. Little by little we go on this path. Buddhism says his teachings is like the ocean. The ocean deepens gradually from the seashore to the water. Like that, Buddhist doctrines also deepens gradually. Here, the other thing is, very important thing is that we should understand vision and mission. Vision and mission. It is correct? Yes. Everybody should have vision and mission. Every institute should have vision and mission. Both of them are very important. Vision without mission is useless. Mission without vision is blind. Vision without mission is useless. Mission without vision is blind. Therefore, both of them are very important. What is the point of view in Buddhism? What is the vision that Buddhism explains? There are two visions according to Buddhism. In the conventional truth and in the ultimate truth. Buddhist vision can be divided into two. What is the first one? Yes, karmic law, but the vision is that not to fall down into the hell. Sometimes some people don't believe next life, it doesn't matter. But according to Buddhism, the first point of view or vision is not to fall into the hell. Anytime we may die. Sometimes we have to face our death in very complex situation. Sometimes our enemies may kill us. Even though we face these very complex situations, we should have a trust that I never go to hell. That is the first vision that we should have. That is why we always practice good deeds, merits, with the understanding of the karmic law, as Mr. Prananda said. Here, in this level, we should have a very special understanding the karmic law. Have you heard about karmic law? Yes, karmic law means whatever we do with intention, we will have the same results. When our mind is polluted, results are negative. When our mind is pure, results are correct, good, fruitful. With the understanding of the karmic law, we practice three meritorious deeds: generosity, virtue, and meditation. Here, it is very important to understand not to fall into the hell. That's the first vision that we have. Sometimes some people don't believe it. It doesn't matter, don't worry. But the second one is very important. The second point of view in Buddhism is to overcome suffering at the moment. Even though some people don't believe next birth, everyone believes that they should have happiness. They have to overcome suffering at the moment. When somebody blames you, you should have an ability to overcome that suffering. When you are listening to some bad news, such as your close relative or friend dies, you should have an ability to overcome this suffering. If you can't face this problem without suffering, actually our life is not successful. Even though we are educated, even though we are very rich, even though we have a lot of friends and children, we should be proud of our knowledge and practice. We should have to face our challenges in our life without suffering. That is the very important thing, the way how to overcome suffering. Here, it is very important to understand the main challenges that we have in our life. What are the big challenges in your life that you have always recognized? What are the challenges in your life? Yes, so many. I know there are so many challenges in your life. Among them,
old age, death.
yes, according to Buddhism, Buddhism has recognized and proclaimed the three main challenges in our life. They are aging, old age, and death and rebirth. These are the main challenges in our life. All Buddhist doctrines focus on getting rid of these challenges. Other challenges are not like that. Some people may think that if someone fails their exams, that is the challenge in their life. Sometimes some people may think that if their children go far, that is the challenge. Actually, those are not big challenges in our life. Our big challenges in life is that aging, death and rebirth.
Can we say fear? Fear? Because
Fear is common. Fear is common. When we die, we are afraid of death. When we are sick, we are afraid of our sickness. Anytime, it can be applied for anything. But these are the main challenges. Fear arises because of attachment. Buddha says, fear arises because of attachment. Attachment arises because of ignorance. Ignorance arises because of not listening to the real truth, sublime truth. Not listening to sublime truth depends on not associating good friends. These all things are interrelated. However, vision, first, we should understand the vision that we should have. Even though Buddhism has explained these visions, we can apply these things. Buddhism says our life. When we listen to Buddha's message, actually we are happy because it says our story. It is not away from our life. Buddhism explains our life, our story, our future. Then we are very sensitive. We are very familiar with this message. It is not far away from us. And the mission also very important. Buddhism has explained not only a vision, but a mission too. The things that we should practice to reach the destination vision. If we want to become death, without fear, without suffering. We have to practice something, some doctrines in our life. What are the things that we have to practice to reach our destination without fear, without suffering? With the understanding of the karmic law, we have to practice 3 meritorious deeds, 3 wholesome deeds. They are dana, generosity or charity, donations, to offer something to others, and sila, or virtue, discipline in our speech and behavior. Third one is meditation, bhavana. It means mental culture, purifying our mind. These are the techniques that we can practice to reach our destination without fear and suffering. The first mission is practicing 3 meritorious deeds with the understanding of the karmic law. The second one is, yes, very good. If we want to overcome suffering at the moment before we die, we have to practice 3 disciplines with the understanding of the nature of suffering. Here it is very important to understand the dependent origination, the co-origination or causality. This is the essence of Buddhism. This is the heart of Buddhism. This is the identity of Buddhism. Understanding of the dependent origination. It is very important to understand what the dependent origination or Paticcasamuppada is. What is the dependent origination? Dependent origination means it says how suffering arises, how problems arise. Whenever we are unhappy, whenever we are suffering, it means we depend on outside. We are thinking something which are outside. On the other side, we don't live in the present moment. Whatever we experience through our senses, through our eye, through our tongue, through our nose, through our ears, through our body, through our mind, these are the 6 senses that we receive experiences. When we experience something, we think that there is something outside. Not only that, but we think before we experience something, there is something outside. Before you came here, you may think that the temple was here. After you leave here, the temple will remain. Actually, it is true, but only in the conventional truth. Here, in this level, actually conventional truth. Here, ultimate truth. Truths are different. Truths are both in Buddhism. According to conventional truth, before you came here, the temple was here. After you will leave, the temple will remain. It is true, but only according to the conventional truth. When we go to the ultimate truth, according to the dependent origination, we create the world at the moment. When we open our senses, at the moment, according to our present mental condition, we create the world. In our spiritual world, in our intellectual world, there is nothing which is permanent, which is ready-made. There is nothing ready-made in our intellectual world, in our spiritual world. We create something at the moment. For example, now you are happy with me. Then if you look at me, you are happy. If I blamed me suddenly, then you may get angry. Then when you see my robe, Then you are angry with my robes too. Suddenly your mind changed. That is the nature of our life. First, when you saw my robe, you are neutral or happy. After I blamed you, you are angry even with my robe. But robe is same. Robe is same, but from moment to moment, according to your intellectual, mental condition, the experience changes.
So in that case, would the temple be present only if we are in the temple, or when we go home, then the temple no longer exists on the second?
Yes, in the second level. For example, when you go to the mirror, at the moment your shadow arises there, your reflection there. Yes, as soon as you leave, your appearance, your reflection ceases there. Nothing was there. But because of our ignorance, we think before you go there, it was there. After you leave there, then it remains. Yes, please.
A good example of this was one time last year I was on meditation retreat, and my roommate had a clock and it was very loud, and all day I just am hearing the clock, and I have the worst anger, like I wanted to murder. Like I was so angry at the clock because it was distracting me.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a few days later, like the clock, it didn't even, it was like, it was just, its nature had changed into something that no longer even. Yeah, so it was a totally different. And then I would go to sleep eventually, and when I came home, and I was like, I want the clock to be here. It was always a different thing. And like maybe not every single moment, but the next day I would think about the clock and like a different.
Yes, the other thing is, at first time it is very unable to face that incident. But the thing is, when we practice meditation, usually some external sounds or something come to our mind. Then as soon as we think something outside, if we can reflect on impermanence, that is impermanent, then suddenly we can keep it away.
It takes practice.
Yes, that is a technique. Yes, long time practice. But little by little we should do it. And we can replace the positive thought at the moment. And also there are a lot of techniques in Buddhism. When negative thoughts come to our mind, there are a lot of techniques that we can practice to overcome them. One of them is not thinking. Asati amanasikara, Buddhism says. When we think it again and again, our mind goes outside. Then we should stop it. Then on the other side, we should understand, we should contemplate on danger of it. Adinava dakkhavi. If I think that sound, it disturbs my peace of mind. Then I keep my mind away. I get it my mind to the object, meditation object again. Yes, please.
I experienced this like when I don't really do this because you talk different things, but they're all here, right? When I go home, I kind of recreate this moment. When I find the time and I have the intention to read one by one the words, I recreate it like I'm in the temple with your friends, with you, the lamps, everything, and read it and take notes. I'm taking notes to that. I have forgot my pen, but when I read it, my mind completely takes over, like this moment here. It's like you transfer somehow.
Yes, actually there are two things that we can do. The one thing is, when we listen to Buddha's message, we should keep our attention completely at the moment. Then that is the place where we enter the liberation, vimuttayatana. That is why in Buddha's time, when someone was listening to Buddha's message, they had enlightened. And not only hereafter, but at the moment, if you focus this message completely, then actually that is the place you can have your liberation. You can reduce your negative thoughts. Actually, every day we have an order. We discuss one by one. we discuss everything which I have written here. If you don't disturb me, actually, then you can get more benefits. Actually, I try to explain all things in this paper. Then it is more beneficial to you. The extra benefit is that it doesn't mean that you should not ask some questions. Don't misunderstand. But always I try to go to the destination. Always I have an order. Then little by little I go to the deeper level. That is why very special benefit is in the classroom. And then you can go to the deeper level every day. Sometimes, yes, actually sometimes your questions are very important, but our discussion goes to another way. That's the problem. I'm sorry. Later, end of the class we will discuss, okay?
Yeah.
End of the class. Actually, your saying is very important. I agree with you. Actually, when you read this handout after the class, you can get all understanding. That's very useful.
You make me to feel the Buddha here. That's the Dhamma. This is the Buddha.
Yes. This is the way that we see the Buddha. He who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. That is very important. You are so correct. Thank you. Here it is it is very useful to understand how suffering arises. One of them is we think that before we experience something through our senses, there was something outside. And also we think that after experience, something remains outside. That is one of the ignorances. The other one is, when we experience something, we think that there is something outside. For example, when you see a shadow of a tree, you may think that there is a shadow there. But that shadow arises at the moment. This picture also like that. This picture, according to ultimate truth, arises at the moment when these things are here. When lights change, this picture automatically changes. And our experience arises at the moment with some conditions. When conditions change, automatically our experience changes. But we think that even though we don't experience, the experience which are in the outside are same every moment. But it is not like that. Outside things are same. In the outside there are only 4 fundamental elements. Earth element, water elements, fire elements, and wind elements. But we name something. This is my son, this is my husband, this is a table, this is a flower. We name something. But those things have no names. We create names according to our mental conditions. Sometimes you are happy with seeing these flowers. But if someone has a problem with flowers, when he sees this flower, he is not happy. He is unhappy. We create the world as good or bad according to our mental conditions. If we can understand this reality, we always reflect on impermanence that happens to our mind and body, then our mind doesn't go to outside. Then immediately when we experience something, we look at inside. The ordinary people always look at outside when we experience something through their senses. But we who knows Buddha's message, we look at inside when we experience something. For example, when someone's phone rings, you suddenly look at outside. Where is the phone? Who is this phone? You criticize it. If you have mindfulness, you suddenly look at our inside. What happens to my mind when I listening to phone? Then you have no problem. This is the thing that we should do as a mission in the second level. How that we are going to overcome suffering. Everyone likes to achieve this result, even though they don't believe their next birth. That's very important. That's the mission and vision. Now we are going to our topic today, Nanda Sutta. This is a very special discourse in Buddhism. Every day we select a discourse or sutta in Buddhism. There are hundreds, thousands of discourses in Buddhism. When we listen to those discourses, we can understand our life and how we overcome suffering, how we achieve happiness. In Nanda Sutta, one of the gods, according to Buddhism doesn't believe a creative God. But Buddhism believes there are a lot of gods, deities in the world. That's the Buddhist concept of gods. Here, one of deities, once upon a time, came to Buddha and said a stanza, verse, in Pali language. Buddha's language is Pali. And this deity says a verse or stanza. He says, Acchenti kala tharayanti ratyo vayo gunanu pubban jahanti etam bayang marane pekkamano punyani khairata sukhavahani. It means time flies, nights pass by. The stages of life leaves us one by one. Seeing this danger in death, you should do merits that bring happiness. That is the point of view of that deity. He says, time flies, nights pass by, the stages of life leaves us one by one. Seeing this danger in death, you should do merits that bring happiness. That is his idea, attitude. Did Buddha reject or accept this message? No, Buddha neither accepted or rejected this message. Buddha changed this verse. Buddha says, Acchenti kala tharayanti ratyo vayo gunanu pubban jahanti etang bayang marane pekkamano lokamisam pajahe santipekko. The first line is same. Buddha says, time flies, nights pass by, the stages of life leaves us one by one. Seeing this thread, danger in death, one looking for peace would drop the world's date or attachment or attraction, desire. What is the difference, both of them? Now you can see. This is your time.
The first one was worldly, the second one was ultimate level.
Yes, very good. The first one depends on conventional truth. You are so correct. The second one is, it depends on ultimate truth. I am so happy without your answer. Thank you. You have got the results from this class.
Is this verse in the Dhammagaru?
No, it is not in Dhammapada. It is in Samyutta Nikaya. Yes, Samyutta Nikaya. Buddhism does not reject the conventional truth. We should go to the ultimate truth through the conventional truth. Conventional truth is like a bridge. We have to go to the ultimate truth, the destination, throughout the bridge of conventional truth. Here it is very important that deity, God, encourage us to practice good deeds with the understanding of the karmic law, depending on the conventional truth. And He encouraged us to practice 3 meritorious deeds. Punyani Khairata Sukhavahani. Punyani means merit. There are 3 meritorious deeds according to Buddhism. Dhanamyam punya kirivattu, Silamayam punya kirivattu, Bhavanamyam punya kirivattu. Dana means generosity, Sila means virtue, and Bhavana means meditation. It is true. But the thing is, it is not special in this dispensation of the Buddha. In the Buddha Sasana, a dispensation of the Buddha, the unique, the special thing is that reaching the ultimate truth. That is why Buddha changed the stanza in his saying. Buddha says, Lokamisam pajahe santipekko. He who sees this danger in his life has to drop the world's attachment, desire. How do we overcome the attachment to our life? It is a long process. It is a long process. Buddha explained in one side the karmic law, or the way to go to the heaven. With the understanding of the karmic law, in the conventional truth, Buddha has explained a lot of things to reach heaven or human realm. That should be one of the purposes in our life. The second one is, with the understanding of the dependent origination, in the ultimate truth, we have to practice the things that we can reach the cessation of suffering. All of us like to overcome suffering. The way here, Buddha says, we have to overcome worldly attachment, desire. How we overcome attachment? There are primary techniques that we can practice. But ultimately, we have to practice mindfulness. According to Buddhism, the main doctrine that Buddha has explained to overcome suffering is mindfulness. What is the mindfulness?
Staying in the present moment.
Yes, staying in the present moment. Not only living in the present moment, but we should reflect on impermanence. Both of them are very important. But some people know only think that mindfulness, living in the present moment. That is why they say that, please forget your past and future, live in the present moment. Does Buddhism say like that? Buddhism never says like that. If our mindfulness increases, our memory also increases. Memory is not the fault. What is the fault? Fault is ignorance. What is the ignorance? When we think something which happened in the past, our mind immediately goes to past. Not only mind going to the past, but we live in the past experience like it happens at the moment. When somebody has blamed you, when you meet that person, your mind suddenly goes to past and again you are blamed by yourself. That person has blamed you once. Your ignorance invites you to suffer again and again. Sometimes that person has forgotten everything, but still you are in the past experience. Still you are being blaming. If you can overcome this ignorance by practicing mindfulness, actually that is the way how we overcome suffering. Yes?
And you can love when you understand. If you don't understand the person, you can't.
When we understand, we have nothing to love or hate.
Right.
If we love, love ends with suffering. Buddhism encourages us to practice loving kindness as a primary technique. It is not a secondary technique. When we go to the deeper level, we have nothing outside to hate or love. Here, it is very important to understand, when we live with mindfulness and reflecting on impermanence, we have nothing in outside. We see only our wisdom, our mind, contemplating on arising and ceasing of our mind. It doesn't mean that we don't respond to others. We can deal with anyone with this understanding, seeing this reality. But we do everything with the understanding of impermanence, living in wisdom. Then we are like a water flower which comes from mud. Living in the ordinary society, we are like flowers, lotus flowers. We don't touch mud. Flower is alive in the mud, but it doesn't touch mud. If we can practice this path, we can live with ordinary people. We can deal with them, but we don't touch their defilements, their negative emotions, negative thoughts. And here it is very important to understand, Buddha says, the Buddha's idea is that to overcome attachment. If we want to overcome attachment or desire, in the primary level, as I mentioned before, as primary techniques, we can practice generosity, contemplating on impurity of our body parts, practicing loving kindness. Those are the primary techniques. But finally, when we go to the deeper level, in the ultimate truth, we do only thing reflecting on impermanence. When you see something, you see very clearly that this happens, this occurs at the moment with the conditions. Like this sound. This sound wasn't here before you experienced. After listening to it, the sound doesn't remain. The important thing is, sound arises because of fingers, because of my ear and consciousness, but this sound doesn't belong to anything. When we do this sound arises because of these instruments, but the sound doesn't belong to them. This picture arises throughout seeing this picture with our eye and eye consciousness, but this picture doesn't belong to anything. This picture doesn't belong to even the wall, even the paint, even my eye or eye consciousness. But without these conditions, the experience doesn't happen. But this picture, shadow, doesn't belong to any condition, any reason. If you can understand this reality, when you see someone, when you hear something, when you smell something, when you taste something, when you touch something, when you think something, you suddenly come to inside. Your mind doesn't go to outside. But you should have not only knowledge, but you should have consciousness, mindfulness. Even though you are knowledgeable, even though you have this understanding, if you are not mindful, then you suffer. Bless you. The thing is, very important thing is, even though you are a very experienced driver. Sometimes you may have more than 40 years experience, but if you have no consciousness, mindfulness at a second, you can face accident. Like that, you should have not only knowledge, but always you should practice mindfulness. You should live with this understanding. That is the very important thing. And here, then I explain Buddhism in a nutshell. All Buddhist doctrines can be included into one stanza. Sabba papa sakaranam kusala supasambada sachita paryodapanam etam buddhanusasanam. Not to do evil, do good, purifying one's mind. This is the message of the Buddha. There are 3 messages of the Buddha. One of them is not to do evil, do good, purifying one's mind. And here, in the primary level, we have to overcome negative thoughts. Then automatically our words and behavior is correct. Then we have to practice good deeds. We should be purify our mind doing good deeds. When you practice generosity, your mind is so pure and calm. When you practice loving kindness, actually you are so happy. You have no hatred. And also, these are the techniques. But in the secondary level, although we practice good deeds, still we think there is something or there is someone outside. When the environment is pleasant, we are okay. But the environment changes. We have nothing. We are lost. But in the third level, purifying one's mind from ignorance completely helps us to live without suffering in any condition, any complex situation. That is the thing that Buddhism has given us to live in this world. Little by little, we should go to the deeper level. And the highest advice Buddha has given us, the nature of our life. What is our life? Our life is our 6 internal senses and 6 external objects. Eye, ear. Eye, form. Ear, sound. Nose, smell. Tongue, taste. Body and touch. And mind and mental formations. These 12 things are our life. Buddhism says, except those things, if someone proclaims something that is only a word, it is useless. We have only these 12 things in our life. The interesting thing is, these 12 things arise at the moment. They are not ready-made things. Even though we think that when we are going to eat something, there is ready-made food. But food is not there. Food arises when we eat it. When it comes to our tongue, at the moment we create, adding some spices, according to our present mental condition. If we can understand this reality, actually Buddha says, ahutva sambutam hutva nabhavisati. Not being occurred comes to occurrence. Being occurred will not go to occurrence. Whatever we experience at the moment, the nature of that experience is that. Not being occurred comes to occurrence. Being occurred will not go to occurrence. This is the golden proclaim that Buddha has explained. This is the golden declaration. This is the golden saying that Buddha has explained. If we can keep our attention in this reality, actually, at that moment, we are very rich. We are rich in our attitude. We are rich in our confidence. At that moment, you don't depend anything. At the moment, you don't depend even in the Buddha. You completely depend on your wisdom. Then that is your own experience. That experience doesn't belong to even Buddha, Dhamma or Sangha. That experience belongs to you. That is your own idea. That is your own attitude. That is your own enlightenment. That is what Buddha says. Paccattam veditabbo vinyohi. This message is personally realized by the wise. First, we should have some guideline throughout listening to Dhamma. But finally, we are free. We have liberation. We don't depend on even the Buddha. Sometimes in Buddha's time, there were some very intelligent, very gifted people who had practiced this message in their previous lives. As a result of that, as soon as they listened to this message, they attained enlightenment suddenly. And not only they attained enlightenment, but suddenly they left the Buddha. Then that is the thing. In the primary level, we should have faith, confidence, or devotion. But when we go to the deeper level, when we reach the destination, that experience belongs to us. When you go to a place, never you have been there. First of all, you have to ask someone or get some information from Google. Until you reach the destination, you should believe address for your navigator. When you reach the destination, you don't need to trust it. Then that is your own experience. Dhamma also like that. Here, again, we explain very important thing. Actually, last year also we discussed the same things. Because there are some newcomers, I decided to explain it again. Okay? Be patient. And the main doctrines in Buddhism. Don't worry about a lot of things are here. Finally, we have to practice only few things. Okay. But we should have a clear understanding what main doctrines are in Buddhism. First, it says the triple gem. There are very valuable gems that Buddhism has explained. Invaluable gems. They are the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Buddha means Buddha's enlightenment, his understanding, wisdom. Dhamma means his message, the path that leads to get rid of suffering. The Sangha, who are the living people who are practicing and who have practiced already. They are Sangha. We are confident in these three things until we reach the destination. The second one is the 5 precepts. We practice some virtue in the primary level. And abstaining from taking lives, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from false speech, abstaining from taking intoxicating drinks and drugs causing heedlessness. These are the 5 precepts. These 5 precepts help you to reach the destination. If you are always with these 3 things, actually they disturb your peace. They disturb your destination. They disturb your enlightenment. That is why we should abstain from these 5 things in the primary level. Then, when we discuss Buddhism, There are a lot of discourses, sayings that Buddha has given in his 45 years as a Buddha. All of them can be divided into three. One of them is how we succeed this life. The second one is how we succeed hereafter, in next birth. The third one is how we achieve the destination, how we overcome suffering in this life completely. The difference between Buddhism and other religions is that Buddhist liberation is in this life, before we die. We can attain enlightenment. We can achieve liberation before we die. But other religions, they explain their destination, their liberation, going to the heaven after they die. They can't experience their goal living in this world. But the very important thing in Buddhism is that we are so fortunate. We can experience this goal before we die. Here, in the primary level, Buddha says, if we need to succeed this life, we have to practice four things: education, economy, health, and morality or moral life. Whether we believe next life or not, everyone likes to succeed this life. A lot of doctrines that we can see in these four areas: in education, employment, good health, and morality. These four things are very important. Bahu satyanch sipancha etam mangalamuttamam. Buddha says, learning something, education or vocational education is a bliss in our life. It is a supreme blessing. If we are not educated, actually, we can't live in this society successfully. That is why Buddhism encourages us to have a good education. That is very important. On the other side, Buddha says, one of your duties as parents is that giving a good education to your children. The second one, economy. According to our education, we should earn money in righteous way. That is also very important. Even though we need money, we should have a moral life. We should earn money righteously. If it is not, then we are unhappy end of our life. That is why Buddha says, it is very important to earn something righteously. Even Abraham Lincoln has said it in his letters that is written to his son's master, schoolmaster. Please teach my son to earn $5 righteously. It is more important than getting some $100 without righteous way. That is very important. Then third one is health. Not only physical health, but we should have mental health. Sometimes we are physically healthy, but mentally we are unhealthy. Sometimes we are jealous, we are angry, we are stressed, then we have no real happiness because we are unhealthy mentally. The other one is moral life. Even though we were born alone, even though we will die alone, we live with people in the society. That is why we need a moral life. That is why we should have a discipline. That is why Buddha has explained the importance of practicing 5 precepts. That is the first level. The second level, how we succeed next life with the understanding of karmic law we have to practice generosity, virtue and meditation. Third level, with the understanding of the dependent origination, we have to practice 3 disciplines: virtue, concentration and wisdom. The ultimate goal of life, our ultimate goal is happiness. If we want to be happy, we have to overcome negative thoughts, and finally we have to eradicate ignorance completely. That is the way of happiness. The best friend, as we mentioned before, our best friend should be mindfulness. And fourfold mindfulness. Mindfulness can be divided into 4. The contemplation of matter or body, the contemplation of feelings, the contemplation of mind or consciousness, the contemplation of mental formations. 5 spiritual faculties: Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. Saddha means confidence, Virya means energy, Sati means mindfulness, Samadhi means concentration or tranquility, Panya means wisdom. These 5 things, day by day, we should increase. Our real success in our spiritual life depends on these 5 spiritual faculties. When a Buddha meets a person in this world, as soon as he meets a person, he suddenly focuses on that person, how far that person has practiced these 5 things. Buddha doesn't care his caste, education, appearance or any other things. Buddha suddenly focuses his mind, how far that person has practiced these 5 things in his previous lives. Then according to his mental condition, Buddha explained the Dhamma. This is the real property, wealth, that comes with us in our spiritual journey. Enemies. We should recognize real enemies who disturb our peace of mind: greed, hatred and delusion. 4 noble truths: the suffering, dukkha satya, the cause of suffering, samudaya satya, the cessation of suffering, nirodha satya, the path that leads to cessation of suffering, magga satya. The eightfold path: right understanding, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right concentration. Spirit or essence of Buddhism. The essence or heart of Buddhism is the dependent origination, the dependent co-origination. The process of arising and ceasing of suffering. Whenever we are unmindful, suffering arises. Suffering comes to our life. Whenever we are in mindfulness, there is no space to suffering. We are liberated. How to investigate these 5 aggregates? First, Buddha has explained 5 aggregates. Our whole life is matter, form, perception, mental formation and consciousness. Even though we say something, I see something, I hear something, I smell something, I taste something, actually in the bottom level, these 5 things are alive. When you see an iceberg, you see something over the water. But in the deeper level, you can see a big thing like that. Even though we see a flower, we see a person, I have a degree, I have a car on the street, even though we say something, we say a lot of things, actually finally our whole experience is 5 aggregates. It is a deep concept in Buddhism. Those 5 aggregates are not permanent. Those 5 things arise at the moment according to our present mental condition. We should contemplate on these 5 things according to 5 ways: arising, ceasing, gratification, danger and liberation. Causes to develop wisdom. If we need to to reach the destination in the ultimate truth, getting rid of suffering, developing our happiness from beginning to end on this path, we have to practice 4 things. Associating good friends, listening to Dhamma, reflecting on what we listening to, and practice. Those 5 things are very important. Buddha's message in a nutshell, as I mentioned before, Sabba Papa Sakaranam, not to do evil, Kusala Supasambhada, practice good, Sachita Paryodapanam, purifying one's mind. This is the message of the all Buddhas who appeared in the world. Buddhas appeared in the world from time to time. Their all messages are same. They explain only thing. This is the summary. And we discussed Buddha's message. I think you are so lucky. In one day, you have to listen in all Buddhist doctrines in the same class. However, you should take time to practice it. And also, you have to learn by heart it. And also, we always should be in the Dhamma. Not only when you are in the class, but practicing Dhamma is like breathing in and out. It is not away from us. When we listen to Dhamma, we should think, this is for me, this is not for others. But suddenly, when we listen to Dhamma, we may think that it is very useful to my friend. But we never think that it is useful to me. But the very important thing is, when we listen to Dhamma, as Buddha's message, always we should think that this is for me, this reads my story, then we can reach the Dhamma. Then we can be familiar with Dhamma. Okay? Have any question?
Paticca Samuppada is dependent or arising.
Yes, there are several terms, words in Buddhism. Patisampada, Arya Satcha, Arya Nyaya, Hetupacca Dhamma, Idappaccata. There are many words in Buddhism, but meaning is same. Causality, co-origination, dependent origination, cause and effect. There are several words in English, even in Pali too.
Today I was picturing in my mind cause and effect, but it can be many causes and one effect. It can be both and the opposite. Like one can cause a big effect in many people with one action at the same time. Or we can have a lot of causes to create something we're planning for some time. Because you need information here and there, and when you're planning something, you want to create some effect, right? So I just make some drawings because I have to do it.
Actually, many causes happen at the same time. When we experience something through one sense, actually many conditions are there. For example, if we see here, lights are here, wall is here, paint is here, our consciousness, our eye, many things are here.
To see only one painting.
Yes, one painting to one person.
Yeah.
The other person it is another thing. This is one of the picture that helps me to be faith. But this picture sometimes causes to other persons to get angry.
Yeah. The effect can be...
In my world, this is for me. In another person's world is different. Okay, thank you so much for your good attention. Day by day, we are going to deeper level, especially when you are in the class. This is also a place where you practice. Not only you listening to me, but at the same time, you practice it. And also at that time, your mind is so pure. At that time, you are mindful. At that time, nobody can disturb your peace of mind. Believe it, trust it, then you can go forward. Thank you so much for your good attention. By the power of all these meritorious activities that we accumulated at the moment, may our departed relatives also receive these wholesome deeds And may they enhance their spiritual energy. With that intention, let's share these merits with our departed relatives. Recite in a gatha. That is one of our traditions. Ettava idam me ñātīnam hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātīnam hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātīnam hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may guardian deities and angels also receive this spiritual energy. May they enhance their spiritual energy. May they keep their eye on you too. With that intention, let's share these merits with guardian deities and angels too. Ākāsaṭṭā ca bhummaṭṭhā devā nāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā ciraṃ rakkhantu sāsanam. Ākāsaṭṭhā ca bhummaṭṭhā devā nāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā ciraṃ rakkhantu desanam. Ākāsaṭṭhā ca bhummaṭṭhā devā nāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā ciraṃ rakkhantu tvaṃ sadā. By the power of all these spiritual energies, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no problems come to you. May no difficulties come to you. Finally, may all of us attain final bliss of liberation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dukkham pantā ca niddukkhaṃ bhayam pantā ca nidbhayā sokam pantā ca nissokā hontu sabbe pipānino.